So, yeah, when we built Windows Mobile, we built it for the hardware manufacturer, for the carrier, for the IT professional managing the corporate network, helping with the deployment and line of business applications. And then, yeah, I guess we got around to thinking about the end user. With Windows Phone 7, we took a different approach that based every decision we made around how is it going to impact the person using the phone. And it really drove a lot of our decisions, and it gave us great clarity. It's part of the reason that we talk about Windows Phone as the phone that puts people first. It really was designed not only to help you keep in touch with the people that you care about and want to communicate with, and all the ways that you communicate with them, but also really this design around the end user, the person using the phone, was the most important person for us to think about. It wasn't necessarily the the person that managed the corporate network or the OEM, but they're important partners in the process. But putting people first was really what we had in mind. Now, it's also true, as you point out, that Windows Phone is a fantastic offering for businesses, for many reasons. In part because our Outlook, our email client, the email software that we use on the phone to connect to all of the different email services, whether you're on Exchange in a corporation, or Hotmail, or Gmail, or Yahoo Mail, the client software to access and manage your email is the best mobile email experience, bar none. We feel really good about that, and that is kind of the killer application still for businesses is email on the mobile device. So the best email client is a start. The best productivity suite is the next piece. Office Mobile on Windows Phone is really rich, not just a viewing and consumption platform to open and read files, but to actually create, manipulate, edit, annotate, comment, modify, and share all of your Office documents. Adding to the fact that in the Mango release, the 7.5 of Windows Phone, we added the ability to automatically synchronize all of those Office documents, no matter what kind they are, up to your SkyDrive, and enable you to access Office 365 or SharePoint servers that are located in your business. It is the most complete in many ways from an end user productivity standpoint, bar none, the best business phone out there. It is true that there are a couple of IT pro features that folks are still asking us to implement, and we're working with prioritizing those features. But yeah, from an end user productivity standpoint, certainly best email client, best productivity suite, best ability to integrate with things like SharePoint in your company. So we know that as Windows Phone continues to build our brand and build on what we launched a little over a year ago, we will become more and more known, not just for being a great experience, great if you like gaming, Xbox Live, great if you like social networking, but also great for productivity as well.
Okay. I was going to ask a question. As it pertains to moving forward now with your general strategy and approach, you have you could say top tier devices like the Titan, as well as say the Nokia and Lumia 900, which is coming out, and you also have low end devices like the Focus Flash, I believe, Focus Flash, and also something mid range. I won't call the Focus S mid range, but you could put it between mid to high end. Is that something that Microsoft wants to keep as a present strategy in hitting all those tiers as they move forward, especially transitioning into 4G LTE devices? Or is it something where 4G LTE might be left for high-end devices and then the lower-end ones maybe 3G or HSPA+?
Well, today we have several 4G phones, and we announced just this week that we've got 2 new 4G LTE phones coming, and you'll see more devices obviously from our partners over the coming months. It is true that we'll continue to have an offering that spans a range of market segments, from the more affordable or potentially even free phones. I think the Focus Flash is a $49 phone, but in some specials you can actually get it for 99 cents, I think. So So effectively free. There is a broad range of hardware. When we kind of reset our mobile strategy with Windows Phone 7, one of the changes that we made was to provide guidance, more explicit guidance to the hardware manufacturers about the types of hardware that we would require to run our software. And we hadn't done that previously, so as a result, if it boot, it shipped. You know, I think there was a lot of cases where the hardware might have been underpowered, and it results in an affordable device, but not necessarily in one with great experience. With Windows Phone 7, we gave very specific guidance to the hardware manufacturers and says it needs to be a high-end Snapdragon Qualcomm processor. It needs to be you need to have this much memory. Every Windows Phone is going to have a great camera, and we provided some specific guidance so that every Windows Phone would deliver a great experience no matter what. Now it's true within that range that there's within that specification there's still a range of device affordability, and so especially with the support for some of the newer microprocessors and the Qualcomm 7X27, the ability for us to have devices that will run phones that have more affordable underlying components. You'll see even more a broader range potentially of offerings, but the consistency of that user experience will continue to remain true, so that every Windows Phone, even if it was 99 cents or free, will have the capability, will be high performant, will have all of the features, and that's not true of other platforms. On other platforms, if you get a free phone, it's not going to have all the capability that the high-end phones of that platform will have. It's not going to necessarily be a great experience. And that's one of the things that I think will become more evident over time as we continue to expand our offerings to broad market segments and have more affordable hardware in more regions and more languages and more countries around the world. You'll see us be able to do that while maintaining this consistency of user experience. And the user experience in Windows Phone is something that we put a tremendous amount of effort into building, and something that folks have recognized as being very valuable and being different and better than a lot of what else is out there. So we really think we're going to be able to do this, that we can offer a range of hardware, some of which is at the very high end, some of which is very, very affordable, but all of which provide a great experience.
Is that the only way you're going to differentiate yourself between the different devices? Is it just going to be a hardware differences between the phones, or is there going to be a point where you're going to let some of the OEMs maybe install some type of maybe custom experience, not going so far out of the Windows Phone experience, but allowing it to at least make something unique within the experience, to let it know, let their customers know that this is their device. Like with the Nokia, you have Nokia Drive and Nokia Music, and those things are specific for the phone, or other OEMs going to be able to that in the future.
Yeah, and they can today. And for example, you see the HTC hub on HTC's phones, and you see things like LG building in support for DLNA, so that you can automatically stream your media to a DLNA compliant television set that you own. It doesn't even have to be an LG TV set. So we're seeing OEM, the hardware manufacturers and mobile operators, be able to build on that platform that we've delivered and on that great Windows Phone user experience, and extend it in several ways. And they're doing this today through either building kind of their own software hub and pre-populating the start screen with pre-installed applications, or building a hub of their own in the case of in the case of HTC. They can also have their own, the mobile operators, many of them, have their own stores in our marketplace to give their own software offerings. And even things like the hardware manufacturers being able to do custom camera settings and build in modes for cameras. Like HTC's done some great work with panoramic mode and building in a macro and doing some other stuff. So in all of these ways, our partners are able to build on the great experience that we've delivered in Windows Phone and extend it in unique ways that differentiate their offerings. It's a really good balance between a world where every phone is exactly the same. I think the iPhone, no matter whose carrier, I mean every iPhone is the same, and it's very consistent. And in the case of Android, you have a very wide degree of variability, and you have a lot of different user interfaces and skins and functionality. Where we're at is we want to have a consistency of the user experience, but also enable the right amount of customization and modification and differentiation for our hardware and mobile operator partners, and we're striking the right balance there. I think it's something that we'll continue to look at over time to make sure that we're in the right point in the spectrum of kind of freeform customizability to consistency, because it is a trade-off there.
Speaking of the camera, you mentioned a couple of times, most Windows, or actually all Windows phones, record at 720p, and you talked about uniform consistency. The question is it something of consistency in keeping it at 720p, even though we know some of these OEMs have had devices that can record at 1080p, or is that a limitation of Windows Phone itself?
Today, that's built into the software, okay. And it's something that we'll continue to evaluate as both the camera and display technology and our ability to do the encoding and everything that we need to evolves over time. But that is true that every Windows Phone is able to record at 720p today.
Okay. Another question on the hardware. I know, of course, that's sort of an OEM thing, but personally, I like a keyboard. I like a physical keyboard, and I think there's only been 1 or 2 Windows phones that have actually used physical keyboard. The LG Quantum and the Venue Pro on
the Dell Venue Pro and HTC
Arrive. Yes. Yeah. Now the one thing that the Arrive suffered from was that the screen didn't rotate. And is that something Microsoft is looking into? I know it may not seem like something that should be addressed immediately, but I'm sure there's a market there within that reach that people say, this is something we would like to have, because although everyone has phones that fully touchscreen, there's some people who do want to use a physical keyboard, and having that just that option of having the home screen rotate with the keyboard itself.
Well, they made some attempts within the software recently to have support more landscape support, but is it really going to be like full whole experience?
Yeah, there's so we did add, as you point out, some more instances in the user experience where we convert to landscape mode. Within the setting screens and within some of the hubs themselves, they'll actually translate and go into landscape. In the home screen, we haven't added that, and it's something that we'll continue to listen to feedback and think about. There are some reasons why, from a design standpoint, there's an aesthetic to Windows Phone and a design that we've spent a lot of time building and thinking about, and the way that you interact with the phone, the way that the animations specifically are subtly different depending on what you're doing. The way that the start screen itself shows you information and brings it without having to require you to take any action, are really core to the user experience and to the value proposition of the phone. So while it is possible that it's software, right, and so it's infinitely malleable, and we should be able to make changes that would automatically convert any screen that you're looking at into landscape mode, from a design standpoint and from the usage scenarios, the home screen is intended to be a place where you either glance quickly or you're going to via touch launch a device, and so there's not any mechanism on the home screen where you're using the keyboard. So while it is possible to slide out a keyboard like on the Arrive, for example, and have the start screen on display, there isn't any time that you would be actually typing in, looking at the start screen. So these are things that from a user experience standpoint are important to us to kind of maintain the design aesthetic and the consistency behind what we build. But we are also always listening to users and feedback and trying to figure out where it makes sense to make changes. And I think that's part of the result is the changes in the Mango release, where we implemented many more scenarios where we do flip to landscape mode. But yeah, no plans to do that for the start screen at this point.
One more question in regards to carrier partnerships. So you've had good partnerships with AT&T, and also some with T-Mobile. We're just wondering, with companies like Sprint, Verizon, I know Sprint got one device, Verizon had one. Is it something where are you taking a specific approach with certain partners, or is it something where you're trying to hit everyone and push devices? Because what we hear on our end, feedback is yes, I love Windows Phone, I like the way it looks, but I'm on Verizon, I can't find anything. Say less from the CDMA.
Yeah, it's interesting because the the decision to range a specific device, running a specific operating system, is the carrier's decision.
Yeah.
And so we we would love for all of them to have many offerings, and we're working very closely with all of our carrier partners to try to provide great solutions for the customer segments that whose needs they're interested in meeting. So they have an approach in their business strategy to figure out what their offerings are, and then to work with relevant hardware manufacturers and software providers to build an offering for their given customer set. And that decision, though, is the carrier's decision, and we would love for them, and we're working with them all. And as you say, Sprint and Verizon have Windows phones today, and we look forward to working with them, continuing to work with them, and hopefully expand the offerings they have. But ultimately, it is their decision.
All right. Thank you.
You bet.